Welcome everybody. This is episode 5 of the Cotch podcast on the Yak Chat channel.
Woo!
Let's give it a little clap.
Hey!
And before you go for wash your bloody hands. And if you don't know why, the Corona.
Corona's
and if you don't want to catch it, drink Corona.
Cheers.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bluetooth.
To the apocalypse.
To the apocalypse.
Right, so yeah, not to make too light of a serious situation, but we're all gonna die. We've got about 2 weeks, I reckon.
Very soon.
No, it's a bit mad though, actually. I've been preparing. I'm gonna be really honest, innit? I've been stocking up on baked beans. So if no one can get barbecue Heinz baked beans, then soz.
Digging the underground tunnel.
Yeah, mate, I actually considered it, you know. I thought
Proper War of the Worlds, that is.
well, yeah, that's it. I've been getting trapped too many American videos in it, and they're just like, bro, the government are gonna come in at night. That's when they're gonna do it.
What's the craziest conspiracy you've heard so far about coronavirus?
The best one I think I've seen is that it's an FA conspiracy to stop Liverpool winning the title.
That's
the most
favourite.
believable.
No,
I
that's
think.
my favourite one.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Or the other, my favourite is the one that apparently the government want to implant 5G in us. And they're basically,
bro. Yeah, I've seen
No, this is
bare 5G ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone thinks it's 5G. Isn't
This
it?
is actually crazy. Can they feel like testing us for corona? Part of the test, there's going to be some chip that's installed in us that they can track our every movement at every time. And apparently there is no virus. Like, it's just
I keep seeing that a lot.
Yeah.
Loads every time someone like a BBC video comes out about it, everyone's commenting like this is just made up to scare us.
And all
or
of
whatever.
these scientists are actors.
Yeah.
And they want to put these
yeah.
chips in us that they can end it like that. They end it in time like that.
So you know, like
Fuck's
all the
sake.
conspiracies that are true, they've dodged that and just decided to use that, and then with coronavirus,
The same people
Like,
that don't believe in Epstein are gonna.
yeah, exactly.
Say
They believe that the
vaccines are trying to
BBC,
kill us.
yeah, exactly. But to that point, I am a wee bit scared for, like you say, is what's what. Every time there's an event or something, it's an opportunity, and I don't mean this in a really evil way, innit? But like, it's an opportunity to use that event to maybe get certain laws through, to maybe sort of reshuffle things as you want them to be,
Yeah,
and that could even be for a good reason, innit?
Yeah, true.
But
Well, you think
they're
someone's
gonna
going to
use
capitalise on it?
well, yeah, they're gonna because you've got to use situations to get something out of it. But what is it? Are they going to look at the fact that it kills the elderly and then go, okay, maybe we won't check people coming into the country then, so it spreads. We all get it. We're all fighting age. We'll be right.
Or the other
Give us a
theory,
scrap.
the other theory is that it was created in a lab as a ploy to reduce the population. So
Oh, what, in China?
effectively to get
Yeah.
rid of the weak, reduce the population because as a whole planet now we are massively overpopulated.
With the boomer generation all on our shoulders. I mean, we love you, innit? Like, yeah, I mean, done a good job.
Shout out to Boomers.
It's,
You gave birth to us, so I mean, we owe
it's
you.
time to go.
But yeah, well, no, that's what I reckon. That's what they've done, innit?
DT's in that lab.
yeah. What they did is that's why they held the election in December, because they were like, boy, like 2 months coronavirus. 2 months after that, coronavirus is going to start in it. So we'll get all the old people to vote for us. Then we kill them off. Then we spend the next 5 years trying to pattern the youngsters. Makes sense.
Do you know what? I saw this thing on Twitter. It was like it wasn't a thread, but it was like this.
I thought you said a threat then.
It wasn't a threat.
It wasn't
I'll
a
give
threat.
you coronavirus, you dick.
No, someone tweeted, they were like, if coronavirus had broke out before Brexit, would we still be in the EU? And it actually got me thinking, would we still be in the EU?
If we hadn't already started leaving, it wouldn't make sense to leave all of like the joint programs, because we've got like a lot of disease programs and that we share.
Exactly.
Intelligence.
But a lot of the leavers voted keep them out. They voted to keep out the terrorists, so they're trying to keep out coronaviruses as well.
Yeah, and the borders like, I see the thingies.
But when you actually deep it, it's interesting because now Brexit's now gone through, that something like this has happened where it is an epidemic now.
Suddenly we feel like an island.
Yeah, and it's suddenly like, yeah, exactly. We feel isolated
it's just
now.
Boris and that looking after us now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good old Uncle Boris.
Yeah, there's no more accountability.
Yeah, literally. But yeah, it's crazy. It made me think, if that actually had happened beforehand, where would we be now?
It's a good question. It's a good question. But I think what's more important is, and I'll ask you your opinions on it, should they shut the Premier League down? Or should they play behind closed doors? I'm just going to give a quick answer. I think they should play behind closed doors. What do you think?
Yeah, well, to say shut it down, does that mean what, we just end the season where it is?
Yeah, and it's as if it never happened.
Hell no.
When you say
hell no.
But when you say end the season as it is, so what, are Liverpool champions or
No, as in a lot of people are asking for it to just be cut and then
start again fresh next season?
Because there was an NBA season, the lockout season, where they were all disputing wages, and they played a few games and then just cancelled the season.
No, I did hear. Yeah, no, I heard about that actually. I don't think for the good of the game, I don't think that would do it any good, because with its reputation as well, the Premier League is probably the most watched sport in the country. Facts, how many people tune in. Yeah, true. If you take away I feel like shutting the fans out of the stadium is probably the worst thing you can do, and also it's a bit counterproductive as well, because if you
why do you think it's the worst thing?
If you take the fans out of the stadium, you're putting people into a pub. Because people are still going to get together and watch the football. Like in Serie A recently, they stopped the fans from coming in the stadium, but the fans still met outside the stadium to watch the game.
Yeah.
So you're trying to reduce gatherings, but people are still going to get together. So then then
you got to think about, say, the families who are travelling from wherever. They're now not going to go to the game. Yep. So there's a lot of people. Even though you're right, people will go. There is also
it does also responsibility,
but it does also deter others from going.
But you say that,
it does reduce it.
You say that, and as much as we joke about coronavirus, it is massively serious.
Yeah, it's killing people.
People will still go to football. They will. Yeah. You know what fans are like. People aren't going to tune in and think, oh God, I don't want to go out the house. You'll get some people, but you'll get people who are the religious fans. You've seen how big football is and how the movement of football in this country is. People are still going to travel. People are still going to go to and use public transport to go to these games. Yeah. If you take that away from football, you take away everything. Yeah. Like Guardiola came out today and he said, if you're taking away the fans, I don't want the team to play in the stadium with no fans, because that's effectively...
You do anyway though, don't they?
Hey,
I've been hoping, I've been waiting, seeing that up all day.
Dancing that dirt on the Etihad. No, but I feel like if you take away the fans, you are taking away the atmosphere, and the atmosphere in football is probably the most important thing.
Yeah, you know. And as much as I would be happy for it to be played behind closed doors, the good point as well is it's now the running, so teams that are fighting relegation or battling for qualification sort of want to use those home games to their advantage, and it wouldn't be the only advantage would be your dressing room.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the Prem in it, so none of them are uncomfortable now.
You're at the point of the season where you're probably going to get the most viewers from the lead up. It's people who don't even really watch football will start to watch, because you're coming up to the penultimate point of this. Yeah, you hear at work. You might not be a football fan. You hear about a good relegation battle. Yeah. You might think, do you know what? Saturday night, I've got nothing else to do. Mate, I'm going to tune in.
Or even the Champions League final. Everyone's going to the Champions League final after work.
If we lose another game or two and City don't stop and City start winning, then suddenly that title race kind of hots up, because City have got a game in hand, and if they win that, they are 12 points behind. Yeah. So I know it's still that we've only got like a few games left, or not a few games, but 10-ish, I think. If Liverpool lose one or two, it could make a little bit of an interesting finale.
It'll make it more interesting, definitely.
Yeah,
100%.
But one thing as well with if they did play it behind closed doors, is that the FA come out and said that they'd stop the 3 o'clock ban, and they'd make Sky and BT put every game on for free. Yeah. So that people could go to the pubs, but then, your point, more people go to pubs. You look at the World Cup, right? Not everyone can go. Where is it? Russia in 2018. Yeah. Not everyone's going to be able to afford to get a ticket and a plane ticket out to Russia. Us British fans are probably the best football fans in the world. I know I'm biased saying that, but it is our sport. That's the sport of the nation. It's our religion, isn't it?
You take that away from the fans, people are still going to meet up and want to watch it together, because they want that atmosphere. When the World Cup was on, we were all meeting up, all going to the pub because of the atmosphere.
Yeah, if we win the title, I'm still gonna go up to Liverpool, isn't it?
That's another thing I saw on Twitter.
Kill me. I've been waiting my
Liverpool,
whole life for this.
Exactly. Well, a Liverpool fan account said today, he said if Liverpool win the league, you're not stopping a parade.
No.
Because that's nothing to do with anyone else. Like, you can, and
I'll take the hit, man.
You know, Liverpool, one of the biggest cities in Britain, you're gonna get a lot of people there. It's
well,
natural.
do you think there was nearly nearly 1 million? Like for the Champions League parade, that's just the Champions League.
And how many years?
How
many years? It's been over 30 years since the title's been in Liverpool.
Every Liverpool fan from around the country will be flocking to
but it's
Liverpool.
It's done, bro. Like that's happening. Like so, what I'm saying is the plan to reduce the gatherings of people together is so counterproductive because there will always be gatherings of people watching football.
If you're gonna target anything to reduce coronavirus, maybe football is probably the one that's just gonna, like you say, whatever you do, another gathering will pop up.
But you look at Serie A. I mean, today you see the news that it's now been suspended.
Yeah.
For what they said, the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Because people aren't allowed to travel between areas now, so they can't play.
I don't know. It's just it makes you think like what's actually going to happen then? Because say this keeps spreading and it's getting worse and worse in 2 to 3 weeks' time. What happens then when they want to put it on again?
If it did cut off, what would you say? Cut off, start again next season. Cut off as is.
I think if football cuts off now, I think because they're saying in the summer when the climate's warmer, the virus won't survive as much. I think the Euros will get moved till the following year, and I feel like the Premiership will be extended to the summer. The Euros ain't happening, man. I don't think it'll go ahead. I really don't. If you look at it now, look how.
This could have big knock-on effects.
Where is it? Where's the Euros?
All over Europe.
It's
not in a set
Europe
country.
For the first finals at Wembley.
It's in England, Italy, Spain, France.
Every country hosts a group stage game at least, and then
all the hub of the area that's been most affected is going to be the base of where it's going to be held.
That's crazy.
Because if you think like you say, which makes sense, if they push the Euros. World Cup's in 2022. That's the Qatar one, which is going to be a winter one, which is going to completely shift all the leagues. So that reduces the amount of leeway. Because what they was going to do is start the season earlier. Well, they won't be able to do that if all of the summers are pushed up.
Yeah.
So like, this could have such a knock-on effect.
It actually makes you think as well. If you really want to go deep with it, FIFA came out. FIFA last year came out and they said that a representative from FIFA was panicking that the Qatar World Cup was not quite ready yet because of the amount of stadiums they haven't built, and
they started coronavirus because they didn't have Qatar
there you go.
ready.
New conspiracy.
Sorted, boys, let's go on.
No, but it makes you think like delaying the tournament in the summer. Is it giving them more time to get that prepared? Because you know the amount of money in FIFA, and FIFA's so backwards anyway. It wouldn't even surprise me if a tournament was delayed just to buy more time to get the Qatar World Cup up and running. But
or maybe City done it. To get out to distract,
because
everyone keeps saying it's a distraction, and I keep asking people a distraction from what? And
do you not reckon maybe everyone's just capitalising on it to make it a distraction from their thing? Yeah.
So it wasn't in the first place, but now it is. Now that people are talking about it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't made to be a distraction, but now it is a thing. It's used as a distraction.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what's pretty crazy? Like with the world we live in now, with social media being so relevant. Like, it's crazy how much I almost feel like it's made the virus spread quicker because of it. Like, people with I really believe in, not just from the scaremongering point of view, but people tuning in. You know, I go to work every day, I turn on my laptop, I see a new news report. Okay, we're up to 300 cases, 400 cases. You know, people who are scared about this get freaked out. You know, I've got someone I work with, their wife at home is like a massive hypochondriac. She can't leave the house. She hasn't got it, but she can't leave the house. She can't go to work.
She's just scared, isn't it?
But also, it makes you think how many people in the country are going to be like that.
Also, though, do you not? I mean, the government's worst case scenario is 500,000 deaths in England.
500,000.
Yeah. That's a fucking lot of deaths, man.
That's a lot,
bro. No one is. This is the thing. Is it wouldn't be that bad if people were stopping the spreading of it, but if everyone's still just travelling to hotspots and back again and not being... I mean, you can travel if you get checked. It should just be as simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that no one's getting checked coming back into England.
The thing that's worried me is like...
It's serious.
I know we joke, but it is serious. And I remember I was in the office a few weeks ago and I was chatting to someone there and I said, you know what, these things will blow over. We've had it how many times?
We all said that.
Swine flu, SARS, everything is, it's been and gone. But this isn't going. And that's the crazy thing. Like,
it's because people aren't doing anything about it. I mean, I don't know, but I just don't. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been like, I don't know. It just seems only now would people be like, we've hit peak stupidity in a way where people just, like you say, with the social media thing, it all just becomes a bit of a thing rather than a reality. And so everyone's just spreading it anyway, and it won't harm us, rah rah rah,
and then everyone starts becoming experts online and then spreading misinformation and like the amount of medical misinformation I've seen is you fucking ridiculous, man.
I mean, you use Twitter probably more than any of us here. Like, you see how many people online are tweeting, suddenly they become doctors.
Yeah,
and you think, where have you got this information from? People spreading this false information.
Just read it on a meme more time.
Yeah.
There's some really dangerous ones going about where like people are pretending to be doctors and scientists, and they're like, look, everybody, I'm a real doctor, guys.
It's not that
bad. This is a thread.
Yeah.
And you read the thread, and then someone with an actual MD or whatever the name title is, and they'll be like, they'll link to like some actual research, but the link to the research has only got 3k clicks. That original tweet has got 300k.
Yeah.
And 270,000 people believe that.
Yeah.
And most of the misinformation going around is telling people, as much as it sort of counters intuitiveness, most of the misinformation going around is telling people not to panic.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know about it, you can't tell someone to panic just as much as you can tell someone to panic.
Yeah.
Because like at the end of the day, complacency is worse than being too careful. Like, no matter what the situation is. And I'm not like saying go panic buy or anything like that, but wash your fucking hands.
Look
don't
around.
go out as much.
Honestly.
Don't go to that gig in it if you're not really that on it. Like, do you know what I mean? Don't just like, because the thing is with this whole keep calm and carry on is it forces people to go out when they probably wouldn't have even anyway, and they're just like, no, fuck it, I'm valiant. You know what I mean? I'm gonna
nothing
rebel.
can take me down.
And so people actually, someone's just sitting in the city centre topless, like, fucking cough on me,
Spit on me.
spit on me. Have it back.
Nothing's more British than that.
No, but it is.
Spit orgy,
Like,
the middle of town.
No, like, I do. It's good, like the keep calm and carry on, like it's a good thing. But in situations like this, they say it because it keeps the economy going, not because it keeps us healthy.
I was going to say that. Do you reckon maybe the economy has part to do with the virus spreading? So people waking up and thinking, I got to go to work today.
Well, yeah, we get £36 a week on average sick pay. In Europe, on average, it's like 67, and there's bare countries where you get 100% of your pay as sick pay. We've got the least in Europe, and this is the thing. We've got the least beds, we've got the least GPs, we've got the least sick pay. All of these things lead to people, like you say, just carry on in their lives. And I think Boris Johnson said on ITV, he said, they're sort of measuring up whether to just take it on the chin, his words were. Which basically means, should we just let a few of them die and not let the economy falter? Because in the end they can use those economy stats and say coronavirus happened and our economy didn't drop like Italy's did, just because Italy's
they said it was the delay tactic, didn't they?
Delay, contain, but everyone coming into Heathrow and that's like they're not checking anyone, so what are they containing or delaying?
But
they're delaying, as in they're literally just delaying.
But
by saying delaying, they're delaying.
Reverting it back to what we were just discussing with the football, like you were just saying about washing your hands, the importance of that. If you don't want to go to a big event, stay in if you're not feeling well. What happens with that? Because football, the stadiums, you look at the biggest stadiums in the country, Wembley, 90,000, Old Trafford, 80,000, Emirates, 70,000.
Big chunk of the team's income is match day.
You got to think.
Especially the little teams, somewhere like Gillingham, something like that, if their games aren't on, they'll be
Exactly.
Then that goes into the players' pockets as well. That's the players not being paid.
The revenue of the clubs are going to be hit.
And
if only a few Prem
if
teams
the leagues are
that.
Suspended, and obviously with FIFA at the moment, a lot of it is so backwards. And look at what's happened to City. You got to think then. Are every club's really upfront with their financial status of what's going on? How much is there we don't know?
Well, yeah, a lot of clubs they do say are secretly constantly teetering.
Or just staying above the water.
Yeah.
It makes you think if it was suspended and it was delayed and suddenly that revenue drops because not just ticket sales but stadium attendance, shirt sales, everything. Branding across the planet of broadcasting as well. Broadcasting rights, everything. There's so much different revenue coming in when a game's actually taking place.
The guy with the burger van outside.
Exactly. Like everyone gets affected by it as a real knock-on effect. So okay, yeah, people are like, okay, let's stop the Premiership because we don't want gatherings, but are we really thinking about the knock-on effect there? What it could have? Like, I'm not
even
saying
people selling them like 50-50 team scarves.
Yeah,
just standing out the front. Like, even they're losing that little bit of.
Yeah,
like you said, the burger van and that. Yeah,
that's not me saying football's more important than people's health, but
it's the choice.
Yeah, what we're tackling here is massive. So it's such a big question. Do you suspend it? Do you not? I don't think there's an answer.
Well, in my opinion, if you don't start checking people in and out of the country in that, why should I change my? This isn't how I think, but you could think that, innit? Why shouldn't I go to the football if you ain't even checking if people are coming in ill? Why are you taking my thing away from me? The only thing they've talked about so far is the Premier League. They haven't spoken about travel, locking down cities. It's just they're just bothered about the fucking Premier League.
And you'll have a lot of working class fans all over the country who have never left this country, have never experienced travel outside of the UK.
Yeah.
And football will be their holiday.
Yeah.
Going to football every week. You have these fans who are religious fans. Like I say, working class fans who work hard to be there, and you take that away from them. Yeah. It's a big thing. It will have a massive knock-on effect.
Because they're basically saying, to the middle classes and the upper classes, you just carry on. The working class will carry on, but they're the ones susceptible to it. Yeah. So just fucking, do you know what I mean? Rather that than fucking take a hit to the economy. Do you know what I mean?
That's the message it sends out, definitely.
Yeah. And when you think about it, like the Premier Football has got to be one of the bigger chunks of the economy.
Massively.
In Britain.
Massively in this country.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Because you think finance is like way and beyond the biggest. So under that, our industries aren't.
Even people going to the pub and buying a beer to watch the football, now that's even the pubs getting the knock-on effect. And the landlords and.
Well, this is it. I think to show one of Sky or BT costs 10,000 a year for a pub.
Wow.
So if football's not on,
I didn't know that. That's actually crazy.
Bro, business, internet, and that, and all of that is a mug off. As soon as they know it's a business, they're just like, we have to pay that. Then we don't want your customers to get.
What happens? This is what I don't quite understand. What happens to the broadcasters then? So say football does shut down. So say we don't allow fans in stadiums anymore, and all the 3 o'clock kickoffs are broadcast on Sky, BT, BBC. In terms of revenue, because they were saying on Twitter that the games would now be shown for free. So obviously a lot of people will be in contracts with BT, with Sky. What then happens to that revenue? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, with obviously people who've signed up to these contracts, you're now saying, okay, you get it for free. What happens with that money? Like,
well, I think maybe either it might be, it's Barclays Premier League, isn't it? So maybe it might be a payout from Barclays because they're the big umbrella company of the Premier League. Yeah. Or
we paid them out in 08. They can fucking pay us out to keep the season on, innit?
It may just even be that these companies, BT, Sky Sports, and all them, just take a mad hit. Because you've even got to think further than this year, because say like when it gets to the point where we can't go to our normal jobs anymore.
Yeah.
That you watching that football game requires about 50, 100, maybe 1,000 people to do their job at BT, at Sky.
That's what I said to my bird.
But like, even being at the stadium and filming and
this
that.
Is it.
Like, because put it this way, if we keep all the fans out and that, we stop all the fans going from games. We still need the cameramen to go there. Mm-hmm. If you want to watch it, you still need the cameramen to go there. You still need the guy to sit there and say all this. So it's still going to be...
For every pundit is 4 runners and a camera guy and a mic guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a whole team behind it.
But it's not just that. We touched on it, a little while ago with what we're saying. It's a knock-on effect of the jobs of the people associated with the whole 90 minutes of the game, not just inside, but there's everything. You have a stadium shop, you have people who make food around the stadium.
The coach driver might be ill.
There's so much that will get affected by it. It's really crazy. But yeah, I don't think there's an answer. I really don't. I don't think you can. It's one of them. You have to almost see how it plays out, really, because if it gets to the point where like you say, 500,000 are getting sick, then undoubtedly it will be cancelled. And
they good estimations at one point at the peak they reckon 1 in 5 workers will be ill, and if 1 in 5 people aren't in work, a lot of shit goes wrong. So I said to my bird, I was like, we need to get some books and that, just in case the electricity, you never know if you get a surge or whatever, there might just not be the guy that can come out quickly
Yeah,
enough, and
no,
it might
exactly.
be the next day.
Exactly.
You might just have to spend a night without electricity. And to most people, they're like, "No, I can't get to that, surely." But if only one person needs to be ill.
Well, because we're so coddled in this country in that sort of sense, even with things like getting the bins collected once a
One
week.
domino goes, and it just goes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, how are people in this country? How are they going to deal with it? I think even earlier we were talking about like hunter-gatherers and how, well, I've heard people on other things say how hunter-gatherers are going to be the ones who, if there was a big globe, they were saying this on Joe Rogan,
Yeah,
the George Hancock one.
Innit?
Yeah. So they're saying when a meteor hits Earth and everyone dies, the people who were going to survive, so say the whole world died and there was one person in every country, the people who would survive would be the hunter-gatherers, the people who were in the tribes, hunting their food and all that shit. The people like us, like, and I'm saying us because it would be us, like we would then be, hey, we can't go to the shop and buy our chicken. We can't. We have to learn to slaughter animals. We have to learn to grow our own crops and all that stuff.
Bro, there's all wild animals.
So when you translate that to the coronavirus now, because now we're gonna lose all these. What's the word, like conveniences, yeah, because we lose all these conveniences, like you said, even about electricity. A lot of countries don't have electricity, but now we're gonna be, I don't know, maybe it's gonna draw out a couple snowflakes, maybe it's gonna, I don't know, but it's gonna be.
I'm ready, innit? I've got my survival books.
That's it.
Jay's got his zombie killer
printing on Wikipedia like how to make fire without sticks or wood or earth or water. Just printing off everything. But that's what you should stock up on ink, because when you know the internet's going down, you got to print some shit off.
and write some shit.
Yeah. To buy everything.
Boy, I'm gonna be chiseling.
You're gonna be rewriting them books.
Yeah. That's it. Sitting there, a group of monks like, ooh.
Yeah. But you know what? Like you were saying, a lot of us wouldn't be able to survive, but. Yeah. A large amount of that, without kind of blame shifting, is not our fault. It's how we've been conditioned. You have to remember our generation, especially now.
Well, it's how the world's developed into, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it has. But what I'm saying is, as a generation, our generation, obviously we're all around the same age. How we've all been brought up, we haven't been brought up, with
to live off the land.
Yeah, not just that, but like how society's changed. Like you go back 30 years ago. Like, the most exciting thing you could do was come home from school and kick a ball about. Whereas kids nowadays, they wouldn't even think about that.
Let's get home to do TikTok.
Bro, kids couldn't even be outside.
Exactly.
Like, they'd pick up a stick and be like,
or they'd be taking a photo of the stick and putting it on Instagram.
Like, I can start.
With the stick.
Yeah. How do we TikTok?
TikTok, yes. Wait, I think we're onto something.
I can start fires. And I can build a thing out of sticks, so I'll be alright for like 2 days.
But what I mean is the majority of people,
marshmallows.
the majority of our generation have been so conditioned that we, it's the norm. We don't know how to do these things. We've always had the shopping on the, provided. We've always had food on the table. Yeah. If you really said to someone, go out there and find me a meal from the wild and cook it without using any of the appliances that you get in a house. How many people could actually do that?
Even grow a vegetable.
That's it.
Growing
crops.
Even grow a vegetable. A lot of people don't know how to do that nowadays.
Not a lot of people could live off the land, and that is where you'll see the.
I've got my own veggie patch, so.
All round butlers for veg night.
Yeah, potatoes and green beans.
Vegetable night with yak. No, but it's funny because I got an uncle who lives in Cyprus, and it's funny because you go to his house, and he's got like a little farm bit where he's got like quails where he gets eggs from. Then he's got like chickens, and he's got like a pig who he names and then eats a month later. He's got like a little vegetable patch, and
he's got a cycle of life.
Even though
he's got a mini cycle,
exactly. Even though he's got the money to go out and buy whatever, he's still self-sustaining. So it's like, and that's he's probably in his 60s now, probably like 65. And like still going like a fucking beast.
Trojan
fucking Greek god.
Yeah.
But like
I'm telling you, these are the type of people that live the longest.
Yeah,
who have been.
That's what I'm saying.
Who have been outside of the source.
Bro, nature provides.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Modern life doesn't.
Yeah, it's so true. It's crazy. It makes me think of that Simpsons episode. When they have to move out of Springfield and they start growing their tomato plants, and it's on like a I can't remember. There's like
a tobacco.
There's tobacco planted under the soil, and they create these tomatoes crossed with like nicotine and Like everyone gets so addicted to them.
Everyone's addicted to the tomatoes.
You know what? It's like,
Yeah, you got Ralph and Wiggum eating them.
Yeah.
Like, these are horrible.
And then he's like, I want more. And he's stuffing his face.
Do you know what the crazy thing is about that? And you know, like the Simpsons Nostradamus.
The predictions from the Simpsons.
Mate, there's a theory that I've found out about not too long ago, just brush on it, is that under all the tobacco fields in America, they put loads of UV lights to make it cancerous.
Oh, fuck.
Really?
Yeah. And the Simpsons might have just been predicting that, innit? Or letting us know.
The Simpsons,
either way you think about it.
I mean, we could reel off the Simpsons predictions. I mean, it's getting to the point now
Mate,
where
we should do an episode of like TV comedy predictions, because Family Guy have done a couple, American Dad have done a couple. But yeah, whilst we're talking about coronavirus in the Premier League, we have the Premier League Hall of Fame coming, ladies and gentlemen, and those in between.
That is exciting.
Where's it, a building? Is it going to be a building?
Oh, the HQ.
Is it actually not? Is it actually going to be like?
No one would have jobs there.
Yeah, yeah. Coronavirus.
I'm taking CVs.
Yeah. No, I actually haven't thought about that. All I know is that on the 19th, the first two go in.
They're gonna be. It's like a plaque. It's like a.
Where's the plaque going?
Of memory. I don't really know.
St James's Park, St George's Park, wherever.
Like, where the
England
HQ is, yeah.
The England HQ.
The training headquarters, yeah.
Not Arsenal. Arsenal.
Arsenal.
Yeah, we deserve it the most.
But basically, it's to signify the Hall of Fame of the players since the Premier League turned to the Premier League in 1996.
Okay.
And changed actually to that name of the Premier League, highlighting the players who've made such an impact, because there's been loads from different clubs, and it's so interesting because of the different eras. They were doing it on Monday Night Football a few weeks ago, where they were discussing the best teams of certain periods. Yeah, and it's crazy.
Oh, look, when they used the stats.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good.
But what I really love about football, and it showed recently, even with Liverpool's little dip in form. You know, did you hear the news story about the fan that wrote into Klopp? And the United fan. Did you hear about this? A Man United fan wrote into Jurgen Klopp and basically wrote him a personalised letter, and he said, it was something like, Jurgen Klopp, can you please lose a few games just to give the other teams a chance? And Klopp's reply, I thought, was spot on, because basically he was very considered what he said, because this kid's probably only about 7 or 8, and he wrote back to him, which is fair enough, because you can imagine he probably wouldn't have time to do that. He probably gets a lot of fan mail.
Oh yeah.
And he basically said in this letter back to the kid, like, I can't promise you that we're going to lose, because we're going to be contending for the title and we want to win that. However, football changes and no one stays at the top forever. And it's so true.
You get your chance.
You have periods of time where teams dominate, and then all of a sudden it changes and it swings in roundabouts, and no one stays at the top forever.
And the eras are smaller now as well.
Yeah, they are. You look at the windows. I mean,
period.
Honestly, go back. Okay, so this is what's crazy and how quickly news stories turn over. There was an article on Sky Sports the other day on the app, and I flicked on it, and it said, "Will Liverpool dominate the Premiership for the next 10 years?" And I'm not going to lie, I had to laugh, because they haven't won the title yet. Yeah. And you go back 2 years ago, and City were the first team to do the Centurions.
Well, yeah, they asked the exact same question about City about 6 months ago.
And it's just funny, because it's like, the memory's really that short of people, you know, like, okay, yes, football changes, but Liverpool, as much as they've got a fantastic team and they will always be contending for the next probably 5-6 years, you can't say they're going to dominate, because with obviously the budgets that these teams have now and the financial powers that they have, you're gonna be contending from all over. You know,
players are gonna come through.
Yeah, you've got these young players as well.
The
young players, the young players are probably the best quality we've ever seen coming through now.
And you never know, like Salah, Firmino, or Mane might go in the next 2 years, and we might not replace them
exactly
properly, and all of a sudden another team makes a good signing.
But look at bad recruitment. Like, you know, Ferguson, when he left in 2013 and Moyes took over, he still took over a title-winning team. No one really left. Like, players were just getting older. Yeah. Eventually, those players moved on, but for years they recruited really badly. Yeah. And that's why, you know, people are like, okay, United have fallen, and that's why recently you've actually started to see them rise up a little bit again, because the recruitment's been better.
They've taken a step back, haven't they?
You know, you look at Liverpool, like when Coutinho was sold, I remember chatting to Liverpool fans and they were saying, oh, that's the worst thing that could happen. He's our best player. And ironically, it was the best thing that could happen to them, because that money they reinvested, and they reinvested so well. And they bought the best defender in the world. Yeah. And look at them now. You know, they could probably do back-to-back Champions Leagues this season. They're going to win the Premiership.
Yeah, I'm nervous for that Atletico game, though.
That's a big game. Wednesday night.
Yeah.
But, you know, just going back to what we were saying about the Hall of Fame, like, no team stays at the top for too long. It always changes.
100.
And
That's the beauty of football.
And that's what's crazy
That's
about it.
That's what's got me so excited about this Hall of Fame thing, because it's like brought it all back, and suddenly you're just like thinking about players that you didn't forget about, but you forgot how fucking good they were.
Who would you say?
I've got 5.
That's the question
got-
I was going to ask you.
I've got 5.
List off your 5.
Obviously, 2 are going in at first, but I thought two's
do-
harsh, man. Like, it's so hard to pick 2. 5.
Who's the 2 guy? Do we know who the 2 going in on?
No, I don't think so.
I think they released them. Is it per week? Is it per week or per month? Where they're going to be revealing
Yeah,
who's actually
as of
going
the
in.
19th, I think that's the first.
It's going to
2.
be on a consistent basis where they're going to be.
Yeah.
It's by 2 each time they come out. They're going to reveal who's going in and explaining the reasons why. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, sick.
But it's good why they're doing it, because it's going to cause uproar
with
and
the
debate
NBA,
as well.
With the NBA, it's such a good debate. Like 10 years later, after someone's retired, suddenly the question will come about, like, should we put them in the Hall of Fame? And it brings you back to their career.
Absolutely.
And it's good, especially good for when you're trying to like globalise the league as well.
Definitely.
Having like the Hall of Fame makes people like really buy in and want to know more about the 90s and the 2000s.
And then it also makes players want to play to get to that level a bit more, rather than just being like, oh, I want to be like this player, that player.
I want 500
I want to get to.
I want to be a Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I want to be a Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I want a ring. I want a ring.
Who have you got on your?
I'm interested to know your 5 actually.
Yeah.
In no particular order, apart from number 1.
It's going to be
It's gonna be like fucking Stevie.
Stevie fucking Gerrard. One club man. He epitomises the Premier League.
Is he?
He's the rest are in no particular order, but he's
the number 1.
numero
Okay,
uno.
fair enough.
One club man.
Yep.
He epitomises the Premier League. Personally, best all-round centre mid I've ever seen. Put the team on his back. A criminal lack of trophies, but I don't think trophies should be held in such a high regard when it comes to individuals compared to sports like basketball.
Yes.
Basketball's 5 players. You can take control of that game, innit?
Yeah.
Football, there's only 3 or 4 players
22
at
players
a time.
on the pitch.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, think of the amount of players in the world that can really take a top-level game by the scruff of the neck. There's 3 or 4 at any given time.
It's fine margins in football as well.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Especially consistency for a whole tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, to do it sustainably over a period of time, like you say, is
Yeah,
very
it doesn't
impressive.
matter if you win trophies or not. If you made your team better every season of your career, you're a special player, innit? But yeah, so the rest.
Stevie G.
So Stevie G's he's straight
Stevie?
in there. My number 2, if I had to pick a number 2 out of the rest, I'll say afterwards. But yeah, so in no particular order, David Beckham, Cantona, Thierry Henry, and Frank Lampard. And my number 2 would be Frank Lampard. Him versus Stevie G epitomises my childhood. I don't think they're the 2 best players, but that battle is what... This was the first
character they brought to the league.
It was the first domino
Do you know-
to fall in the Brexit debate.
Do you know
Red
what-
versus blue.
Do you know what?
Liverpool versus London. Rich versus poor.
Do you know what I feel as well with them 2? I feel like they.
who's rich and who's poor?
Chelsea, Liverpool, innit? Chelsea's like
You got Chelsea.
posh,
You got
Chelsea's rich
Chelsea's
boys,
Richards
blue,
of
posh.
King's Road.
Like,
yeah.
I mean,
Stevie
Liverpool.
coming out in his 10-year-old Reeboks. Like,
yeah, exactly.
But you know-
he's a proper bloke.
Do you know what I'd say? I'd say about them 2.
footballer.
I'd say what was so impressive about them 2. I feel like with the debate about who was better, because that went on for so long, I feel like that actually probably pushed them both to raise their standards.
Yeah.
And if
Especially
anything,
at their clubs.
if anything, I feel like because of that debate, because it was so apparent in the media, through fans, through everything, and they knew about it. Of course, they knew about it.
People forget.
That
not
would've-
only
We
that,
had
but
the
they
2
had
best
that.
midfielders in the world. They were
But
the
they-
2 best.
But there was them 2 doing that, almost competing for that England spot, and then you also had Paul Scholes on the side,
Yeah.
who was also a fucking boss.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then it's
Yeah.
Paul
them
Scott.
3. I think them 3, that little trifecta of competition, and the fact they all stayed on different
One
teams.
club. They were all
They
one
were
club
all one
men.
club men,
Yeah.
innit? So
Well, I mean, I know Lampard moved on at the end, but he was done, wasn't he? Like, let's
Yeah,
be
he's
honest.
he's a one club man.
Yeah.
I think because he
I mean, the
he
fact he's
joined
come back
City
to
because he
Chelsea.
signed for New York and they were a
Yeah.
City sister club, and part of that contract was probably that he just plays for City for a few games. Probably something to do with getting away with paying his wages.
Yeah.
go check out our episode.
Man City, yeah, we
Man
break down the whole ban and that.
Yeah.
But yeah, David Beckham, I thought he's a one club man again. First English player to be the face of the league
Yeah.
as well, which is a big thing
Yeah.
considering like the start of the Prem.
Good-looking man as well.
Exactly, like he's fucking.
Looks like you,
he
boy.
is good. Exactly. You know what I mean? Fucking no. Here's Stevie. There's Frank, and there's fucking.
Lovely little midfield trio.
Yeah. Eric Cantona.
Yeah,
because
class.
one thing I think we miss out, and this is a conversation to be had just in general about football, is we're past the era of the Maverick now, and we're into the era of the team. And as much as, and it's very similar to basketball again, is the teams are getting better because people are just getting better at like shooting and dribbling and the more like practical skills. But there isn't that like, do you know what I mean? Like most people would argue that there isn't even a place for Özil anymore, and there's no place for number 10s. And I think, in my eyes, that's kind of what made football great.
It did. Well, you look at when you got into football, I completely agree with you. The first player you were excited about watching, for me, was Ronaldinho.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like Ronaldo,
Free Ronaldinho.
Francesco
Free
Totti,
Ronaldinho.
Free Ronaldinho.
Oh yeah, free Ronaldinho.
Free Ronaldinho, definitely.
Oh, I've got a story about him. Someone was on some website before, and they clicked on a video that they thought was football highlights, and it said Ronaldinho Gaucho, and it was a video of him wanking on webcam.
What?
Innit? How does the image you have of Ronaldinho?
I can't see him. I can't see my king doing that.
No. Kaká wouldn't do that.
No, but Ronaldinho, like, do you remember the Joga Bonito adverts where?
Fam, Joga Bonito is what made me love football.
Like
that era,
he epitomised. And the thing about Ronaldinho now, people like break football down based on stats. Like you look at the end of the season, you go like, okay, well look at Aubameyang, he's top scorer. You break down stats, you see the top assister. You know, you got the top players who will pull out stats relentlessly. Ronaldinho,
but no one could do on a pitch.
Ronaldinho never ever scored more than 15 goals in a season. Which is crazy. He never scored more than 15 goals in a season. Which you hear that and you think that's...
And if you think about it, wherever he was, he probably wasn't the best player on the team.
However...
Arguably talent-wise, definitely the best player on the team. But I mean, like when he was at Milan, they still had Maldini.
But like you look at like...
They still had Nesta.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They had Messi at Barca.
You watch Barcelona. You watch Barcelona
Ibrahimovic.
because of Ronaldinho.
Yeah.
And I remember that game, I think it was in 2005, when they beat Real Madrid away and it was 3-0.
And when they gave him a standing ovation.
And Ronaldinho scored twice, and his second goal, he just blitzed past their defence. He made, this was like a young Ramos as well, who was top draw back then.
Yeah, he was
Fernando Hierro.
Roberto Carlos in that team. And he made them look like kids.
Yeah.
And he just blitzed through them. And he could have scored about 5 or 6 that game.
Yeah.
He scored twice. But he genuinely, that was like...
Mate, to get a standing ovation.
In my opinion, it's a big opinion, but I think that is the greatest all-time individual performance in a game in 90 minutes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because
so to make the Madrid fans give a Barcelona fan a standing ovation...
But that's what I was going to come to.
You have to be... And
With
mate,
the rivalry
think of the games
is,
that they've watched between Barca and Madrid. They've always been two of the best teams.
Yeah.
So for Madrid fans to stand up and... That must have been the best performance they'd seen over a 50-year period.
We don't really have a player.
You have to put that into perspective. Go back to the Arsenal-Tottenham days. There was never a time, as amazing as Henry was, where Spurs fans would ever give him a standing ovation.
Yeah.
Ever.
Don't think so.
Like he was dynamite in his day, but no one's ever going to, like no Tottenham fans are going to be jumping up and celebrating for Henry.
True. I think Ronaldinho as well. I think one of the best. I think one of the most notable things about him was the fact that in 2002, we had that fucking... Remember when we lost to Brazil?
In the quarterfinals.
Mm. The fact that us English fans sat there and watched that, and then for the next 5-6 years, our football in life was dominated by Joga Bonito.
Yeah, it was.
Like,
Absolutely.
it just shows the fucking impact that... Not even just Ronaldinho, but that Brazilian flavour that came in around that time was just... fucking mental, innit?
But what's crazy as well, like, I don't know if you saw it last night, but on Monday Night Football they actually had Sven, the former England manager.
Sven Goran Eriksson.
Sven. And it was actually really interesting listening to him because, I mean, he's like 72 now, but he was basically talking about breaking down why he couldn't get it to work with the English golden generation. And it was actually really interesting to hear what he was saying.
Wow,
and
what did he say?
Basically what he was saying was he couldn't drop Lampard, Gerrard or Scholes out the team because
that's a tough...
They were all just so top draw, and Scholes got actually moved out to the left, which he didn't complain about. But what he was also saying as well, his biggest regret, he didn't get a mentality coach in for when they had the penalty shootouts. Because if you actually look at his record, we went out in the quarterfinals of the 02 World Cup to Brazil to that freak goal by Ronaldinho.
What a game, though. Did you watch that at primary school?
Yeah.
Do
you know, it's mad. My primary school gave me the option. All of us.
To go? Or?
Yeah, free ticket. Yeah. No, the option was you could either go to school and watch it because it was in Japan, so it was on at like 11 o'clock.
South Korea, Japan. Yeah, of course it was.
Yeah,
that's my favourite ever football, by the way.
Yeah,
that World Cup.
Definitely. And you could go to school and you could watch the game, or you could stay at home and watch the game.
Yeah.
And I remember that game I opted to stay at home and watch it, and you just knew from. I think we scored first really early.
Michael Owen, wasn't it?
It was Michael Owen. It was a really good goal actually, but the rest of the game,
mate. I kind of feel like I want to watch back those Sven years because I'm thinking like. We can't have been like. Surely we must have actually been quite fun to watch, just with that.
Well,
much
we were.
talent
I mean, do you know what? This was interesting. Under Sven, I think after he got us to 3 tournaments, we lost 1 qualifier.
Yeah.
We lost 1.
Yeah.
And that's actually when you actually put that into perspective. Like even now under Southgate, and people do like him, and I get that because he's very likable. But our team was a lot better back then.
Yeah.
But I just think as English fans, we probably got a little bit greedy with our expectations. Sven could have got it obviously to work a bit better. You know, that team could have easily won a tournament, but at the same time, I feel like we were probably a little bit quick to get rid of him.
It's all hindsight, isn't it? Yeah. It's all Scholes didn't work there, so Gerrard would have worked better, or Lampard would have worked better there. And it's like at the time, you don't really get the choice, innit? Like you've got to put those players on the pitch. I was just saying,
Sven was on Monday Night Football last night, and he was talking about one of the reasons why it didn't work was he regretted that he didn't get a mentality coach in for the penalties to practice. He said they practiced penalties, but they didn't have a mentality coach for.
Was Sven manager when we got knocked out by Portugal?
Yeah, twice. Yeah, so we lost the Euro 2004 quarterfinals to Portugal.
Is that when Rooney got injured?
Rooney got injured.
Oh, that was the wink, innit? The wink.
That was 06.
No, that was 06.
Yeah.
We watched that at a wedding.
Yeah.
The 06.
And we were,
I had a Portugal shirt underneath my shirt. And I forgot that it was like the day, and I'm sitting there like feeling so guilty. Like, I secretly support the team that just beat that.
I'll be honest though, the 06 game we were pretty crap. Like that went to penalties.
Yeah, that was when we started to drift out of the golden age.
I mean the 04 tournament.
That's when we started relying on Rooney, wasn't it?
Yeah. Rooney was really good that
Beckham
tournament.
was going off.
Yeah.
Fucking Scholes was leaving.
I think 2002 we should have won it because you look at the Brazil team that won it. We were actually better than that Brazil team.
Oh, I'm gonna have to disagree with you there.
I think
and let me tell you why. Cafu, Roberto Carlos, Ronaldinho, Robinho in his prime.
Robinho won in that team.
Yeah, he was.
Not in 02.
Not 02.
Was he not?
No.
Oh wait, when was that Chile game where they went mental?
I think it was about 2006, 7.
That must have been 2006 because that would have been the only time that Robinho would have played with the older lot.
Okay.
Because he got drafted in.
Well, still,
Gilberto Silva, Edu.
Bro, shout out Edu.
I'm sorry, but I got to disagree with you there. That Brazil team was probably, in my eyes, the best international team I've ever seen in my life. I'm not going to talk about history before I was born, but I've ever seen in my life. That Brazil team was. That's what they made me love football. They made me love football.
If you actually broke it down, I was going to say player for player,
left back.
So you'd have if you actually.
Well, who would? So you would say.
So if you look at the keepers, you had David Seaman, who was class,
Dida.
versus Dida.
No,
who was also.
It was Dida.
Yeah,
it was Dida.
Dida.
You'd probably pick Dida. Dida won Champions Leagues.
David
Seaman
was
a boy though.
Seaman was sick. Do you remember that Sheffield United FA Cup game when he made that save on the touchline?
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think I've called that too early?
I don't know. It's tricky though because you think Sol Campbell, Rio Ferdinand, two of the best centre backs in the world.
We got 3 of us. We got 3 of us here in it. So let's kind of vote on.
Okay.
Who to go
position
in it.
by position?
Yeah. Because you've got to think, if Dida was in the Arsenal Invincible team, would Arsenal have won the Premier League as comfortable as they did?
This is the thing, Dida kind of had these
and
moments
Dida had a
where
mistake in him, actually, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. That's what I was going to say. He's a little bit temperamental sometimes.
Seaman's only real criticism was that he got lobbed. And that happened a few times.
Yeah.
And that you never saw him make a really obvious mistake. But
Alright, so who's voting Dida?
I'm going to stick it out and go Dida because of the Champions League.
I'm Arsenal, so I gotta go with my boy.
I'm going Dida.
You're going Dida?
Yeah.
Okay,
Dida's in the team.
That's a 2-for-1. Dida's in the team. So left back, who's Ashley Cole versus Roberto Carlos?
See, that's hard because Ashley Cole was considered the best left back in the world for a long time.
Roberto Carlos
was Ashley Cole in the O2?
He was, yeah, he was. He went in the squad.
Roberto Carlos was the fucking guy, though.
Yeah. He is the reason that we have Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander.
Yeah,
Arnold
no,
right
he
now
is,
at Liverpool.
and he's inspired a lot of fullbacks because he actually was the first fullback really in modern football to
take it upon himself
to take set
get
pieces,
involved.
to have that flair. Like he would get for Madrid, he'd get like 10 goals a season.
Yeah.
You know,
that
just
byline goal.
Yeah.
Better than the
Which-
Maicon one.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my god! Like his technique was incredible, and like even the top footballers, like I think Ronaldinho said that the best technique he's ever seen from someone, and bear in mind Ronaldinho was with Messi as well, was actually Roberto Carlos. But then it's so hard because Ashley Cole, for years,
Defensively was off.
and Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, still says to this day the best player, the best defender he's ever played against was Ashley Cole.
Oh really?
So you actually look at those two comments and you think, how do you really word that? Ashley Cole won loads of Premier Leagues with Arsenal, with Chelsea. He's won the most FA Cups ever as a player.
I'd say Carlos because of his stamp on the position.
Yeah.
Ashley Cole's got a stamp on our minds because we're English.
Yeah.
And the whole Cashley Cole saga and all of that, Cheryl Cole and that. But really, Roberto Carlos was like the archetypal modern fullback.
I think more players probably look up to Roberto Carlos more than Ashley.
Yeah.
So are we
Definitely.
saying we'll go?
Well, I'm voting Roberto Carlos.
I'm going with Cole.
Yeah.
But
You're going with Cole.
I'm
That's
going
2 for
Carlos.
1.
Fuck you guys.
Carlos.
That's a 2 for 1. So we got
Centre backs. Was,
Centre-backs
for
was-
Brazil was Lucio and Roque Jr.
Lucia and Cafu. No,
No, Cafu was right
Cafu
back.
was right
was right
back.
back.
Was
Sorry.
Roque
Yeah.
Jr. the guy that used to play for Leeds?
It was.
Oh mate.
I'm sure it was.
Do you know
Roque
what?
Jr.
What you want to do? You want to get the lineups.
Yeah, I'm gonna put.
If you get the two lineups, then you can really
I'm sure
compare.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
Roque
yeah. Let's
Jr.
do that actual game, innit? England versus Brazil.
202.
202. Oh, 2030.
There you go, lineups.
It's
Oh, yeah.
2002.
You forget a lot of players who played for Brazil
Yeah.
though. Like,
Trust.
Yeah.
there's a lot of players that like. I mean, Kaká wasn't really in the team.
Look at
that
this
time.
old
No, it
school
was-
BBC website.
'Cause that's so dated. isn't it?
Crazy. Alright, where's the team?
Do you know what I think is crazy? When you actually, I was on Twitter the other day and they put up the team of the 05 Champions League final, the AC Milan team.
Well, it wasn't Dida in
So
goal.
nice.
And you look at that and
Was
you.
it Cini?
It was Marcos. Someone called
Marcos.
Marcos.
White guy.
Okay,
I
well
knew-
let's
I can't
go.
I knew it
remember.
was-
But let's
I
just
knew
say
it was-
Dida because
Well,
that's the one
if
we
you
know.
go based on their top players at the time, you can stick with that. So they had Roque Jr. You were right, and Lucio. Carlos
Yeah.
missed out.
I remember
Lucio-
Lucio being sick.
Bro, yeah, but not. He weren't as good as Ferdinand and Campbell.
Do you know what,
That
Carlo-
was
I
their
remember-
weak
Oh,
spot.
yeah,
Centre back
yeah.
was their weak spot. I remember that
Alright,
being a
okay,
thing.
so just let's. Okay, so who are you voting?
Oh,
To be honest,
Ferdinand and Campbell. Was it
yeah,
Ferdinand and
Ferdinand
Campbell?
and Campbell, yeah.
They're 100% them two.
Yeah, definitely them two. Yeah,
So
yeah,
right
100.
back.
Sol Campbell
Right back.
was one of the best defenders in the league at the time, and Ferdinand.
Ferdinand again, a bit like Carlos, ball playing centre
Yeah,
back.
and
the
he
first
just
of his
and
kind.
in that
well,
I think
not the first.
I think he
but-
just moved to United, and he was the most expensive defender, wasn't he?
yeah,
for
from
years?
Leeds. Yeah, 30 million.
30 million, and that was a lot of money.
Bro, I
back then.
remember my dad being absolutely gobsmacked at that amount.
Yeah.
Like, what? Where's the fucking
Because
game
like, it was
going?
like
Now
it was like
look-
4 or 5 million, wasn't it? At the time, people were
Yeah.
buying players for.
Yeah.
And then Zidane, what was Zidane's fee when
Zidane
he
was
moved?
50, wasn't it?
Zidane was
and that was the
47.
That was the
50,
record
yeah.
for time.
Yeah.
So
Who's right back? Was it Neville?
right back was. I mean, well, I was gonna say this because this team, the teams that are out in this game for both England
Yeah,
and
but you had
Brazil,
injuries for
ain't the best teams I'd say of them times.
You have to
So
go for England's-
Should we give it our own squads of them times?
You have to go with the strongest starting lineups.
Yeah. So right back, who would we have for England?
Gary Neville.
Gary Neville. I think
So,
that 02
Gaza
was,
versus Cafu.
It's
Cafu.
Cafu.
It's
all
got to
day
be
long,
Cafu,
man.
innit? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
got to be
fucking-
Cafu.
I like Gary Neville now, but when I was younger, I used to this.
But you know what, Gary Neville, like actually, people forget how good a player he actually was.
Yeah.
Like for United, he did a
Him
lot.
and Beckham, that was the good wing.
Yeah.
That was the wing they went down.
And they had a real good understanding.
Yeah.
Like the telepathy between them two was really good to watch.
Yeah.
But Cafu, there's no competition for that.
So what, are we going for like a... I don't know, what kind of formation are we going now?
4-4-2.
Just go
innit?
4-4-2
4-4-2,
classic.
yeah.
It's
So
free,
left
so
wing-
But number 10s can play up front. or
yeah.
whatever.
You can mix it up.
We'll do the 2002 4-4-2
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
yeah.
thing.
Let's
like-
go. With, That's the formation of the time as well.
Yeah. So, what? Who's on the right? Who's on the
Our right side was
wing?
Beckham.
Yeah, right wing was Beckham, innit? And then
And didn't
Right
we
wing
have Trevor Sinclair playing in that tournament as well?
He was in that tournament.
Was
Yeah.
playing still.
Did he play in that game?
So who would?
started, yeah,
yeah.
well.
So they would have. Was
Rivaldo.
Cleberson? Where did Cleberson?
Cleberson went to Man United. I thought he was a centre mid though.
Is this
Cleberson was a centre
um,
mid. So they had their
See,
right.
Cleberson was sick in that tournament, but he's not.
Their right.
He's not
Their
sick.
right wing would have been Ronaldinho. They would have played him on the
probably,
right.
Yeah, probably would have been as well.
It would have been Ronaldinho.
Well, it's Dino versus Beckham then.
Oh, that's a
I'm sorry,
horrible
but
debate.
David, I love you, bro, but I'll go for Ronald.
Yeah, that's a shame because I would have liked to have made a point of bigging Beckham up, innit? I'll put him in my top 5.
It's gonna be Ronaldinho.
But
Ronaldinho, he was the guy still.
And then you got the two centre midders. What is it? Steven Gerrard and Scholes.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, it's Nicky Butt. Nicky
yes,
Butt.
yes.
Shout out Nicky Butt.
Hey, you put a shift in.
Well, I mean, there's
you know
Hargreaves.
Well,
okay, so there's
Hargreaves.
No wait, so yeah, but we got
Hargreaves.
we got to differentiate who's going to be the England centre.
What I think you should do.
Scholes, Hargreaves,
do you know what I think you
Lampard,
should do?
and
I think you should say Lampard just didn't make that tournament because he was injured,
Yeah.
if I remember. So I think you should say Gerrard and Lampard, and on the left you've got Scholes or Joe Cole. You can use. I'd probably put Scholes.
Probably
I would
Scholes,
love to put Joe Cole in that team, but yeah.
So if you go based on that, so you've got Lampard and Gerrard in the middle.
So Lampard and Gerrard,
and then you've got them against Gilberto and Cleberson.
Or Kaka. I'm gonna have to go Kaka. We'll have to put Kaka in it because he's the more famous.
So
one.
then you have to move Gilberto out to the. Oh, that's tough.
Yeah. No. Keep Gilberto because he's
but what I mean is you'll have to
well.
compare him to the left side because they're all centre mids.
No. I'm saying if we have Gilberto and wait. Where did Rivaldo play?
Up
Was he a
front,
forward?
he was like a 10 striker sort of thing, innit?
So Gilberto, it would have to be Gilberto and wait, who was the other one?
Gilberto and Cleberson in the middle in the centre mids.
Wait, who was the other one?
And then
you've Kaka, Gilberto and Kaka. No, I think
Did Kaka play back then though?
Not really.
Brazil.
Well, he's on the team.
He's on the sub. No, he's on the bench. But in that tournament, he didn't really.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying let's switch it out.
I don't think Kaka was even in Europe then.
No, he was. No,
well, he might have been making a stamp in Brazil.
He might have just moved to Milan.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't remember the year he went.
Yeah, he might be still.
But he was at Milan for a few
years.
years.
A lot of players moved after that tournament.
I'd say kick out Cleberson.
Yeah, because Cleberson's just a nod.
Gilberto and Kaka.
Gilberto and Kaka versus Lampard and Gerrard.
Oh, Lampard and Gerrard.
Over Kaka though.
Yeah. Kaka was the guy.
Kaka is genuinely quicker with the ball.
I saw that.
But I don't know. That's so hard to call because Kaka won. What did he win? 2 Champions Leagues?
He won everything, bro. Yeah. He won everything.
He won Madrid and.
He didn't win.
He didn't win at Madrid. He just won 2 of AC Milan.
I was going to say Madrid actually went through a bad patch when
he was.
Well, fucking Mourinho froze him out, didn't he?
Yeah, he flopped at Madrid.
Yeah. So Kaka and Gilberto versus
Lampard and Gerrard.
Oh, all right.
Would you mix and match?
Should we put them all and everyone gets 2 votes for who?
Yeah, I'm Gerrard and Lampard.
I'm gonna go with you as well. I actually am.
Is it? Yeah. I'm gonna go. I'd have to go Kaka and Gerrard still.
So Gerrard and Lampard get in then.
I guess. Are we really leaving Kaka out though?
But mate, you look at Lampard and Gerrard. Like they both achieved so much.
They were the 2 best.
We love Kaka because of his flair, but Gerrard and Lampard were the 2 best. And you have to remember, Lampard finished 2nd in the Ballon d'Or. Gerrard carried.
Kaka finished 1st in the Ballon d'Or.
Did Kaka win that year when Lampard and Gerrard were 2nd and 3rd?
No, Kaka won in 2007. Kaka was
just before he moved. It was just when he moved to.
I know Modric. I know Modric won it recently, but before Modric won it, Kaka was the last person to win it before Messi and Ronaldo. Because Messi and Ronaldo have interchanged it. But
are you guys really leaving Kaka out?
You
couldn't sacrifice an England centre mid.
The problem is if we leave Kaka out, we then have to sacrifice Lampard or Gerrard, and then that debate starts again, and then we'll be all night.
See, I'd just put Gerrard over Lampard personally. I mean, I don't know. I feel like he governed the game a little bit more. Do you know what I'm saying? I like Lampard. Lampard's a legend, but I think Gerrard. I mean, I don't know. I just want to clarify that you guys are leaving Kaka out of this because you're gonna feel funny.
We've left Beckham out.
But for Dino.
Yeah, but this is for Gerrard and Lampard.
No, but Dino's better.
I'm gonna stick by the 2 boys.
Super Frank and Stevie. Yeah.
All right then. I'm just not happy with the team now, bro.
And then
I don't want to play this game anymore.
And then you've got Scholes and Joe Cole against.
We'll just do Scholes in it. So Scholes against. Wait, who's on the wing then?
It's tough because they're playing different formations. I tell you what you can do. Why don't you put Kaka on the left? Because Kaka could play on the left side.
All right, Scholes versus Kaka then.
Yeah, Kaka.
It's Kaka. You can't leave him out.
I like Scholes, but personally, I think he's a bit overrated.
Imagine that midfield of Kaka, Ronaldinho, Gerrard, Lampard.
Yeah. People that say Scholes was better than Gerrard and Lampard are just revisionists, innit?
Yeah,
like,
that's just... Yeah.
Man United might have won more, but no one ever thought Scholes was better. No one ever thought
Scholes
that.
was class.
He was class.
Yeah, but
He
no
was
one
class.
thought he was better
So
than the others.
we'll go Kaka then for that.
All right, so we got Kaka, Stevie, Lamps, and Dino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're still feeling sad about Beckham, innit?
Yeah, I
That's
feel
it.
bad, innit? Because he don't get the credit he deserves for that. The actual player he
For
was.
what he did.
No,
was
true,
amazing.
true.
Bend it like Beckham.
Yeah,
Had a film made about
especially
him,
in
man.
that tournament as
Yeah,
well. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? But all right, so
Ooh,
and now
is this Owen Rooney versus Rivaldo Ronaldo?
Yep. No,
or
no.
Heskey.
We'll have to go.
Heskey,
Well, no,
up
wait,
front,
it's
on
0-2.
his own.
wait,
the rest.
It's 0-2. Rooney wouldn't have been about.
No, he
If we're
wouldn't.
talking them times.
That would have been Owen and Heskey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It would have been Owen and Heskey, but I feel like... Oh, I don't know, that's tough.
Or Fowler.
Fowler was
Whoa,
class,
Fowler.
mate.
Fowler.
We call him God on the
He
cop.
didn't do it on the international stage though, did he?
No.
I think.
No, he was
Do you
more
know
of a
what?
Liverpool man, wasn't
I'm
he?
gonna be objective here. I'm gonna say Owen and Ronaldo. Michael Owen
Yeah.
won a Ballon d'Or for fuck's
Yeah.
sake. He's the English.
Again, people
Yeah,
forget how
yeah.
good he actually
Like-
was just because he was English.
Just because he was shit at
I
Sunderland
think by the
doesn't
time-
mean he was.
yeah.
I
Stoke
think,
the rest
do
of
you know
his
what? I
career.
think by the time Michael Owen was 24, he'd scored over 200 goals in his
Yeah.
career,
Yeah.
which is
And that
actually
was rare
insane.
back then. Like
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
18-year-olds do start, but
But
back
no,
then,
even
it
his,
was him,
even his,
Cliver, and Ronaldo.
even his
that's about
stats
it.
now, I think.
Oh,
like,
Patrick Cliver.
the only player who I think will maybe eclipse Owen now is probably Haaland for what he's
Yeah.
actually
Yeah,
doing.
yeah.
Mate,
at that
Haaland is a fucking force. Like, oh my lord,
His
that guy.
runs.
He was made in the
are
lab.
Did you see
so
that-
fucking how he stays on side and just like he's such a smart striker.
Did you see
man.
that fucking bullet he scored the other week?
Against
yeah,
PSG?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it PSG?
in Champions League?
you know what the
yeah.
thing
The
is as well?
the
is
one that was like a
you know
rocket.
that Rayner that plays the young one that set him up,
the American guy.
17, 18-year-old.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he just come on as well. Both their parents played for City together,
Oh,
and now they
mad.
play for Dortmund
Oh yeah,
together.
I
Really?
saw Haaland's-
Claudio
yeah,
Reyna.
Haaland's
Do you remember
dad just
Claudio
played-
Wow,
Reyna?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Do you remember that when City had the takeover and they had a
Paolo Wanchope,
no after
Paul
that
Dickov.
when mate legends, but when City first had the takeover and they signed all them players who they thought were going to be good, but
Roque Santa Cruz.
just weren't.
Yeah,
Santa Cruz,
Ben
man.
Johnny.
oh mate, Benjani's celebration.
Wait. So
Yeah.
speaking of the Premier, who's in your five?
Oh, that's tough. Do you know what? My top five.
Without none of his are already in there. It's our
Oh,
Hall of
okay.
Fame, innit? So his are already in there. Now it's yours.
So we're all putting one together. Is what
Yeah,
you
Yeah,
said.
everyone puts in five
So
themselves.
remember, my five is Steven Gerrard, David Beckham, Eric Cantona, Frankie Lampard, and Thierry.
Thierry Henry.
I couldn't decide for ages between Henri Vieira and Bergkamp because to me personally, I bleeping loved Vieira and Bergkamp, but
Yeah.
Henri's just that more.
You know,
like,
some people say
you just look
you know,
at him and you feel young.
Some people say Vieira over Lampard and Gerrard.
Yeah, people do.
Oh yeah,
People do.
he was.
Vieira was sick.
He
He's
was
the
ma-
reason why you played such good football because it didn't just start from the forwards. It
Do you know what
started
Here's the
from
thing.
Do you know
I was
what
going to
Vi-
say
do you know
for
what-
my
do you know what
five,
Vieira was like?
you might have to have Vieira and Keane
Vieira was
because
like
them two, that battle between them
Vieira.
was
Vieira.
insane.
Vieira was.
Nistelrooy versus Martin Keown.
That
That,
was crazy.
like looking back on it, I love that Man U team. But in that time, like being an Arsenal fan, in that
They
time,
were
Vieira
horrible to
versus
play
Keane,
against, yeah.
like I hated.
Yeah, I realised
Keane.
the other day.
And I think the ability to be such a pantomime villain
Yeah.
with
And he's
crossed with
actually
the
a
talent
top
as
bloke.
well.
He's actually a top bloke.
yeah.
Like,
It's my
he
favourite
actually is.
pundit. He's
Yeah.
so controversial.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you know what? I think for me, like,
Yeah, go on. Who's in your five?
it's really tough, and I don't want to be too Chelsea biased, but
Is Zola
No,
in
no,
there?
no. Bring in your bias.
I've-
man.
I
Bring
thought
in your
about
bias.
Zola.
the first player I'm bringing in, 100% is Drogba. 100%.
Yeah,
Cult
yeah.
icon.
You have to look.
Icon.
You have to
Yeah,
look at
yeah.
Drogba, and it's interesting. I wanted to bring this up tonight. I saw a thread on Twitter where someone was. I'm probably going to get a bit of stick for this, but basically comparing Drogba and Henry, and the purpose of the thread was basically trying to expose Henry as a fraud, saying that he was overrated, which I don't agree with because
No,
Henry.
he was.
Henry
I
was.
saw that guy
Henry
live.
was not a
Yeah,
fraud.
you,
like,
try,
he was,
you try to catch him, innit?
like he was. He
Back
was,
then, when
he
people
was,
weren't that
He was
quick.
a 30 goal a season man. But what this thread was saying is that in the clutch moments of the important games,
Drogba's the guy.
Drogba compared to Henry totally outshone him. Like I don't think Henry's ever scored in a final that he played in, and Drogba actually scored in
nearly every one,
He
isn't
scored in every final he played in, and which is actually, even if Chelsea didn't win every final, we actually lost one of the finals he scored in, but all the other ones he scored in we won. And
Yeah, because was it an FA Cup in those last season?
in his last
penultimate
season, because he came back, but in 2012 he scored in the FA Cup final and the Champions League final. We won them both. And Drogba, for me, like, okay, Henry would always score more goals than Drogba because he was a more clinical finisher. He was a better all-round player for
more
what he could do.
Well,
if you gave the ball to Henry could beat 3 man and that would be it. Like no one could catch him. No. But what Drogba actually done for winning games and for hold-up play and for like defensive play and for power, like he was an animal to play against. He was do you know what he was really good at as well? Wasting time. And that's so...
Chelsea used to be the worst team for that.
Bro, used to be bloody
the
bastards.
worst team for that. I hated Chelsea
honestly, like, do you know what? He actually carried us over the line so much, and he was so influential in our most recent history for what he's done. I mean, we regard him as our best ever player.
Well, it's similar. I have the similar arguments with people when I try to stick up for Firmino. Not similar players, but similar in the fact that their role was not goals. It was everything else. And to Liverpool fans, Bobby Firmino is our best player.
Yeah, he does.
And to Chelsea fans, Drogba was the hero. But to other teams, they go, oh, but he doesn't score as much as my striker, so how do you like him? But it's deep, especially when it's your team.
But
the
reason why I'd say Drogba, like you look at Drogba, he played under numerous managers. He was played under loads of different formations.
Never struggled, never fell out.
He was frozen out at times, but he always came back. Like Chelsea were, if they dropped him out, we were shit without him.
And
like,
what he's done outside.
Who's your next couple?
So Drogba's in for me. Do you know what? I actually have to include my man Robert Pires. Like for me, I think he doesn't get the credit he deserves. And like growing up as well, like playing football, being around football. He was one of the players in the playground who I wanted to play like.
Do
you know what?
You chip someone.
What was actually crazy? Pires used to score about 15 goals a season. And he wasn't a forward. He was a winger. Like he actually and like what?
And he was one of them old school wingers as well. It wasn't about pace.
Do you remember that goal against Aston Villa?
Tactical part. Like it wasn't about.
Do you remember the goal against Aston Villa? The lob.
Yeah.
That's one of my favourite ever goals.
Always used to try
and he was just like he was so tenacious with what he'd done. Like he played a massive part of the Invincibles team because when Arsenal actually, I think the last 8 games they drew 4 or 5 of them. They petered out towards the end of the season, but Pires saved them a lot in that period. He came up with a lot of clutch goals. You have to include him for me. I think he's a massive part of that.
3, 4, and 5.
So Pires, Drogba. I'm gonna say Ryan Giggs. Just because of his stats,
he's a legend.
I
hate Man U.
No, Gareth Barry's got the most appearances.
Yeah, Giggs is second, but I think Giggs has actually got the most assists in the league, in the Premier League, for what he done. Didn't really get spoken about a lot.
No.
He had and he was given the hairdryer treatment a lot from Sir Alex Ferguson. He was one of them players. He never got the praise. No one ever spoke about Giggs.
No.
Like if you were at school, like and you
but
know
all those old Man United players, that's their favourite player. Giggs.
Yeah, I know. But what's crazy is United fans at the time, when they're running around with their United shirts on, no one wanted to be Giggs.
No.
Everyone wanted to be Beckham, you know, Cantona, you know, like even you know, kids coming up and like, you know,
Van Nistelrooy.
That's what I'm saying.
I hated United and I wanted to be Cantona so
But Giggs was one of them players, like, he wouldn't always look amazing on the pitch, but he's one of them unsung players who just does it. And he like
another guy that scored some pretty clutch goals as well.
Giggs, that goal against Arsenal in the FA Cup semi-final where he beat like 5 players. That's one of my favourite goals.
As well, wasn't he?
Like he was just consistent, and every year again different formations would try. I know he was always under Ferguson.
He went from a like blistering sort of winger to like a cam, and then dropped down to centre mid, playing the Pirlo role. And, do you know what I mean?
As he got older, and that shows a good player for me.
Big time.
Like, I'd definitely put Giggs in there.
All right, 4 and 5.
I'm obviously going to go with John Terry.
Yes, big Tezza.
In my opinion, the greatest ever Premier League defender.
The greatest ever dolphin dive.
I hate that he's so good.
Like for me, it's undebatable. Like he's the highest ever goal scoring defender.
I think the amount he would just put his body on the line.
Yeah.
Like there's no other player that compares.
Sets the bar. It sets the tone.
You know,
I think that was the reason Chelsea's defence was so strong. Because he had that it wasn't just what he did, but it was the mentality.
He honestly carried us through moments where you know
big goals for England.
You know, again, like John Terry, he'd get you like 8 to 10 goals a season in all comps. That's mental. He's a centre back.
Very underrated with the ball at his
very
feet
good
as well.
ball playing defender. Like people talk about Ferdinand, but Terry could ping a ball.
Big head on him as well. Big head.
Mate, he was the best. He was the best header of a ball. He was world class. Like he defined Chelsea during that period.
You know, I turned down a picture with him at Harrods. because it was when the whole racism thing was going on.
Yeah.
I was with my ex and their family, and they all got a picture with him, and I just stayed at the table. And they was like, "Oh, don't you want to get in?" And I was like, "Nope."
Nope.
I hate it.
I regret it so much.
Yeah,
now,
man.
But do you know what I mean, I
So-
took a stand, didn't it?
So you got Drogba, Terry, Perez,
And Gig so far.
and Giggs. Who's your last one?
I'm gonna.
JJ Cotch.
It was gonna be a mine still.
Yeah,
It was gonna be
yeah,
mine
That is
still.
that's a great shout. It's tough, but I'm gonna
I was-
go.
I was
I'm
gonna
gonna
put
go
him
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yes.
I
yes.
always forget. Ronaldo.
I'm gonna only because like again, you know, I'm probably gonna get stick for saying this. For me, he's the greatest ever player. Like in the whole Ronaldo Messi debate, I'm always team Ronaldo just because of what he
Yeah.
does. You know, like
It's the work rate, isn't it?
The
He's
guy.
such
What I
a
love
machine.
about him is he defines hard work.
He came from
Like,
nothing.
And
Really
you have
come
to
from
remember
nothing.
when Ronaldo first came, like although he had all that ability, he wasn't that great. Like
He was well around.
I remember, I remember watching Ronaldo first 2 seasons, and me and my old man would sit there and we'd go, "God, he does a lot of stepovers, but where's the end product? Like he looks good, but he's not getting any stats.
Bit like Adama Traore.
Wouldn't, yeah,
a couple
exactly.
Years ago.
Wouldn't really score. Would beat players. Would look amazing.
Yeah.
But I remember a lot of his United teammates would get really annoyed with him.
Yeah. I
And
remember
then
that.
something clicked. I think it was after the Euro 2004 when he lost the final. Because he was really good all that tournament, and he started working on his physique. Do you remember he started getting more and more ripped?
Then
and,
he just took control of games.
And Ronaldo for me, like he had his BMI measured last year when he was 34, and it came back of like that he was
23-year-old or some shit.
22 years old,
22 years old.
and it's just
Ridiculous.
crazy. Like he will
Fucking
keep going till he's
ridiculous.
40.
Yeah.
You know, and the numbers he puts out, the numbers he put out in the Prem week in week out for United.
Because someone said as well when he first joined United, it might have even been Roy Keane actually, and he said that never before had any players seen someone get their own like medical team. Like
Yeah.
he spent
Damn.
nearly all of his wages on getting better when he at first. And they used to live on like the same road or something like that. And he used to say literally people would just be going in and out all day, and all they'd be doing is doing tests and giving them things like that.
Do you know what the story
And
I
that's
love?
at a young age.
The story I love about Ronaldo the most when he was at it was when he was at United when Evra was there as well. He invited Evra back to his house, back to his yard for lunch after training. He was like, "Yeah, just come around, like we'll chill, have lunch together." And Evra was basically describing this as like he just thought they were going to go hang out and have some food together. Anyway, Ronaldo gets him back. He's like, "Right, okay, first thing we're going to do, like get your sports kit back on. We're going to train." He made him train in the gym for like half an hour. Got him like fucked, sweating out. You know, absolutely blitzed him. And then they cooked some food together. And then they had a swim. And then they came back to this like nap room, and he made him have a nap. And then after this nap, they trained again. and Evra,
Just hang out with me for the day.
and Evra was basically saying like he thought he was just going around to chill with his mate.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, play a
that
bit
was
of
it.
peasant
He
there.
thought he was just going around to just have they finished training. All right, cool, let's go and chill. Yeah,
Never
let's
stops
bang some
Ronaldo, does
FIFA.
it?
But he said he left and was more tired, and I think he actually even missed a game because he got like a niggle from being trained so hard.
You
by
can imagine,
Ronaldo.
you know, like the Drake meme, which Ronaldo pulls up. Come on, guys, let's go training.
Yeah, but it just like he defines like everything what a footballer should be. Like his
Yeah.
work rate is just mad, and he
Yeah.
carried United to titles. He won
Yeah.
Champions League.
He was ridiculous.
You know, he
He
left.
still is
He
ridiculous.
still is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's my 5. So I'm going to go Ronaldo, Giggs,
Drogba.
Drogba, Perez, and JT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Hey.
Me. You already said it. JJ Okocha.
Yes.
Got to put him
Another
in.
icon.
Fucking the
That rainbow
African
flick.
Ronaldinho.
Yeah, yeah.
For flair, he
Was the rainbow flick against Arsenal?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. yeah.
That's the first time I ever saw that,
Yeah.
and it was the first trick every kid in the playground was trying to do as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Big on
Alright.
free kicks as well.
Mm.
Because you haven't said it, because I'm an Arsenal boy as well. Let me get my Arsenal ones out of the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's got to be Vieira and Bergkamp.
Yes,
they're just
100%. Two of the most technically gifted.
You can't not put them
players
in there,
ever.
can you?
yeah, they're just too nuts. But you know, I've just realised none of us have got a keeper in there.
Ah,
None of us have a
biases,
keeper. None of us have a
biases.
keeper.
There's one I think that has to be there.
Petr Cech.
Petr
Has to
Cech,
be.
innit?
You broke
Yeah.
the records.
I might have to. Joe, I might have to put it
No,
in mine still.
Can we like nuance that pre-cap check?
Yeah.
No, because even when he's
Yeah,
pre
right.
Listen,
pre fucking
listen,
last season of
he was
Chelsea
still
check.
good.
Do you know what
but
one?
he was even
There are
better.
for me.
before
There's,
Oh,
do you know
yeah,
what? For
true,
me, there's
true.
2 records in the Premier League that will never be broken. One is the Invincibles.
Yeah.
That will
Yep.
never be broken.
Yep.
And 2, will be Chelsea's 04-05
The
team.
clean sheets.
For the least goals conceded.
Wasn't it like 8?
We conceded in 38 games. We conceded 15 goals.
That's nuts.
And you look at it now. So we're
That's
in
crazy.
early
Hey,
March.
checks in my team, man.
We're
Checks
in early March, and Liverpool have they got the best defence in the world.
We've conceded more in already, I think.
That's what I mean. I think you've
17?
No, I think it's up to 21 now after the Watford game.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
So after that, like even now, you think by the end of the season that's probably going to be around the 25-26 mark.
Yeah.
That record's never going to get beaten.
No.
Ever.
Do you put check in?
So yeah, I'm gonna have to put check in because firstly, because we haven't got a keeper.
Yeah,
secondly,
yeah.
so I got JJ Cotch,
Yeah.
Check, Vieira, just because he was just a fucking beast.
Another guy that you should
could-
actually just go back and watch videos.
A guy
of, and
who
you're just
I
like,
think-
oh, shit.
I think it has taken us. I think the first time as an Arsenal fan that we even started filling that void was when we got Coquelin in, and he started giving us a bit of
And everyone,
grittiness.
Yeah.
And like that was something we had just
Yeah.
missed for like
I
a good
forgot
10
about
years.
that. Narrative's been going on for
It's-
times that they
Yeah.
need to replace Vieira. They need to replace Vieira. I
No,
forgot
that was just the whole
personality,
never.
It's personality on the
Well,
pitch.
he was the type that could get the whole team and
Yeah,
He
yeah.
stood
everyone
above
behind
and he
it.
was above, innit?
Exactly.
Like,
It's,
Like,
the,
he's-
it's the arrogance as well. Like in football, to be successful, you have to have a degree of arrogance about you.
True,
Yeah.
true.
A team,
100.
a team that wins, you have to.
Yeah.
And when Arsenal walked out, I remember
It's a
when
mentality.
Do you know a thing about him? Iconic. I always remember when the teams walked out. Do you remember he'd always put like the Vicks, the vapor rub on his chest,
Yeah.
and it would come through the shirt.
I did that because of them.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And like I don't know,
And the
like,
gloves, bro. Arsenal trendsetted back then. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a Liverpool supporter, really,
Trust
but
me.
I used to love
Even
Arsenal,
the black
man.
and white stand up, sit down wristbands.
Yeah,
you remember
all
them?
of it. Long socks.
Yeah,
everything.
trust me.
The
Do you
sock
remember the
tape.
Do you remember the wristbands as well for a while that they were going around? I think it was 04-05.
Yeah, the black
The
and white
stand-up,
stand up,
stand-up,
stand up,
that's
sit
it,
down.
that's what I
one.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
I'm saying. Yeah,
I used to get them with my Match magazines.
Yeah.
Match magazines.
I used to collect them all. They used to come in different colours and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
as
Yeah,
well.
trust. Oh, who's my last?
Ooh,
Who's my
there's
last?
one
Oh,
spot. I'm trying to think. There's probably bare bait players.
Yeah, there's a
That-
bait player we're missing out, but
Yeah.
the
You just got to
last
think about the
spot.
teams that have dominated and won.
Olivier Giroud. No, I'm joking.
Shearer's up there.
Shearer's definitely.
Shearer,
Shearer's up there, man. Top goal
I love
scorer.
Shearer, but
Yeah, that's
I
the
don't know
thing.
if I want to give him that my
respect
last spot.
Shearer,
I don't
but
want to
yeah,
give him
he's
my
not-
last spot.
He's not saucy.
So I got-
Shearer would have got in if he'd gone to United.
Yes.
He would have done. He would have done. He could have the opportunity to move, and he didn't.
Unfortunately, he never qualified in Europe with Newcastle.
No.
They might have done once for a UEFA Cup, and that trophies aren't the be all and end all. But if you don't get your team out of like
Yeah.
mid battling for relegation,
Agreed.
you're only certain kind of
Yeah.
special, innit?
That's a tough one.
I need some.
You got to think.
Because I'm trying to think of it outside the. Because I've got Vieira and Bergkamp.
Do you know what I think we should
That's
do
my
as
two
well?
Arsenal
I feel like we
players.
should all throw in 2 wild cards as well.
Crouch. He's my two. Peter and Crouch.
Yeah.
Oh, who's my last one? Oh, this is difficult now.
You can go current as well. Look at the players who've dominated
No, but I'm
recently.
worried that if I go current, then
Aguero's,
it's
when he retires, Aguero will be. in there.
Aguero.
I mean, for me,
yeah.
But
I'd
you
say.
can't put him in
do
till
you know
they've
what?
retired, though.
I'd say even Suarez has got an outside shout.
Yeah.
Oh, Suarez as well.
Yes, Van Persie.
Van Persie.
Van
Persie for me.
Sol
yeah.
Campbell.
Yeah.
Ferdinand's not even in there.
Ferdinand.
No, but it's got to be someone who really
Ashley
who
Cole.
really achieved fucking greatness. Do you know what I mean? They
Harry
really.
Redknapp.
Harry.
Frank Lampard
against
Senior.
The
Pedersen.
car window.
Paolo Di Canio is one of probably a wild card he won.
Yeah.
That's stuff more like culty, isn't it?
Jimmy Bullard.
Oh.
Legend, but not
Yeah.
not there.
He's
not
got
there.
better since he's retired, by the way.
I know when I watch him on Soccer AM, I think you need to, fucking,
He actually
you need to
has.
get an agent,
Dust
mate.
your boots off,
You know what I
mate.
mean?
Get yourself in.
Yeah, we'll have you at Jules.
Yeah, he's class.
Margate,
man.
fucking
Yeah.
come on down.
Oh,
He can still do
sorry,
the job.
guys, fucking delaying it.
De Bruyne, the guy in there.
Man. So I'm just. There's
Jose-
too many
Jose
Arsenal names
Basingba.
popping up in my head, and I'm trying to move away from the Arsenal players, isn't it?
Yeah. That's
I
what
think.
I
Do you know what? I think you have to put a City player in. I think you have to, just because they've won like 5 leagues now.
Oh, it'd have to be
Company.
It'd have to be
Company's the only one that's retired.
No, but it'd have to be Aguero.
He's not
Are we?
retired, though.
Oh, what we're doing? Only retired.
That's you can't go into a Hall of Fame till you're retired.
Oh, okay, that makes things a little bit easier.
It's got to be Company.
Has to be Company.
He's the only one that's old enough.
Yeah, he is, because everyone's still playing.
he is.
Joey Barton. Underrated.
For the prison stint.
Criminally underrated.
Literally.
He was literally. He was sick. I used to love Joey Barton.
Oh, Premier League.
All I can think about is like funny calls, innit? I can't think of anyone that was that.
Yeah,
good.
since it's retired players, it might have to be Company.
Ashley Cole.
Or because I want to say Sol Campbell, but I'm trying to be. Or,
That's a divisive one. Half of people
I love
will
him,
agree.
innit?
Half
I
people
love
will be
him.
like, never.
he was my favourite
Them half are
defender
Tottenham
back
fans.
in the day.
Yeah.
But like I can't kick out Bergkamp because he was just.
Colo.
Oh, even Colo. Oh, no,
Yo.
He's retired now.
Yo.
He's actually retired now.
Yo, Toure. He's got to be.
Yeah,
if
no, I'm
we
going
do a
Yo.
City one, it's got to be Yo.
Yeah.
Because he was
Cool.
sick.
Yaya's taking
Arguably
my spot.
up there with Gerrard and Lampard for the best Pro midfielder discussion.
Do you remember that season where he would just score a fucking 40-yarder every 3 games?
He'd start deep. Mancini would give up at half time and just be like, yo, you go number 10 in it, and he'd just score.
I think in the Prem that season he might have got. I think he got over 20 goals.
Yeah,
he actually did.
Yeah.
It was class.
Yeah, it's got to be. Alright, so Yaya.
I can't believe I didn't think of Yaya Toure. I'm ashamed of myself.
Yaya, Vieira, Okocha, Bergkamp, and Cech.
Good shout.
That's my 5. That's got to be my 5.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Right, and a couple of these guys that we've picked. I just got a couple. It'll be real quick.
Go on.
You just got to guess who it is. Wait. Right, I'm just gonna read a news story in it. I won't say the player's name, but you got to guess who it is. We've picked them and we've spoken about them. A 21-year-old is shot and wounded whilst on work experience at a Premiership training ground. The left back was reported to have been guess at the fucking end to have been larking around with a .22 caliber air rifle and scope to boot, but didn't realise it was loaded when he shot Tom Cohen, a sports science student, from 5 feet away. Yeah. That's less than that.
I remember that.
And on the same training pitch was home to more controversy, as 2 years earlier than the shooting, the club captain was caught asking for £10,000 cash payments for behind-the-scenes tours, unbeknownst to the manager. And it's the same guy I refused a picture with.
John Terry.
Yes.
John Terry and Ashley Cole.
Right.
The fucking legends.
And this one, this isn't Premiership related, but midfielder has received a suspended sentence of nearly 3 years for firing a gun in a hospital after a fight with a singer. A fight between the two broke out and the singer's nose was broken, so the footballer then turned up at the hospital, allegedly begging for forgiveness whilst also shooting at the floor.
What kind of gun? What, a real gun?
Yeah, that's Arda Turan.
Arda Turan?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I never heard about this.
Bro, this was like last year, isn't it?
Really?
Yeah.
Mad.
And I know we ain't got much time, but these are brothers. An ex-England striker received a caution from police after a 12-year-old boy was shot in Suffolk. He was playing for Ipswich. That's the first story. The second story. Just after 9:30 p.m, 2015, player called the police high on cocaine, convinced someone was in his house. They used a battering ram to enter because they'd been knocking for 10 minutes and no one had answered, but they could hear screaming from inside. They knocked the door down, and as the door folded, they were confronted by the topless player wielding a meat cleaver and another knife, and they tased him on the spot.
Oh, who do you reckon it is?
Two brothers. Both played in the Prem.
Gaza and Phil?
No, strikers.
Strikers.
If you get it, I'll be impressed. Charlton and Ipswich. One went on to play for Tottenham.
Darren
and Marcus Bent.
No.
Darren Bent shot the 12-year-old, and Marcus Bent was the cocaine guy.
Wow.
Wait, Darren Bent shot a 12-year-old?
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
Allegedly.
He's in my top 5 now.
Yeah. Underrated striker, by the way.
And
he was sick on his day.
Yeah.
Darren Bent. He was sick on his day still.
Yeah.
No, he really was. Who would you say?
I can't. Now I've said Marcus and Darren Bent. All these memories are just flooding.
Yeah,
Like Charlton.
Charlton.
I met Matty Holland. We met Matty Holland.
Oh yeah, on
do you
the
remember
train.
that? Yeah, on the tube. Yeah, do you remember Matty Holland?
Yeah, great player.
Yeah.
Dennis Romadale.
Oh my days, the quickest player in the Prem.
He was class.
Yeah.
Do Do you remember Peter Lovencrans that used to play for
Yeah.
I just remember having the micro stars of
I miss Charlton. Like growing up, they were such a big team.
Well, they're our local big team, innit? Really, still.
Yeah.
They were so important. I remember getting like the shootout cards.
Yeah.
And just
match
getting all the
attacks.
Charlton players, match
that.
attacks,
Oh, mate.
filling the stickers in.
Yes.
They were really good for a while. It's a shame they went down because they haven't been back since.
And on that depressing note, you've got to leave us all now.
Oh.
Right, before you go, make sure you subscribe, alright?
Yes, go
Because
subscribe.
did you know 90% of
What?
our viewers do not subscribe?
90%?
Innit?
90% are unsubscribed.
Innit?
That's
To
poor.
check out if you're subscribed,
Poor
scroll
for you.
down and look. Does it say subscribed or subscribe? If it says subscribe, click it.
It's
and then you'll
free.
subscribe. It's free. It helps us out.
Give us a like, give us a subscribe.
Even give us a comment. Let us know what you think
Do you know
about
what I mean?
our
And then-
opinions. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who's in your top 5?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Who's
Good
in your
shout.
top
And
5?
if you've got a top 5, click on a website called Patreon. You have to give us £5 to give us your team or something like that.
no, listen. No. To everyone watching, scroll down. In the description, there's a link to our Patreon. All donations on that. Like, we want to use these donations to put back into the production of this show and
We will
just improve production quality. And
the more money comes in, the more it will get upped. The more we can get.
the
better
more shows
guests
we
on.
can make,
We
the
can
better
do.
shows
We can do
make.
nuts things.
Yeah.
But thanks
Crazy
for listening. At the
Thanks,
very
everyone.
least.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, I've been Yak. He's been Connor. He's been H. He's been Noot. I hope you've been yourself. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Peace. Thanks.